Welcome to Hollywood Pulse. In this video, we're going to take a fascinating journey back to the bold, boundary-pushing era of 1970s cinema and explore 13 films from the 1970s that would never be made today. The 1970s were a time of cultural upheaval, political tension, and creative rebellion, and filmmakers used the freedom of that era to tackle subjects that modern studios would approach very differently, or avoid altogether. 1. A Clockwork Orange, 1971. Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange is one of the most controversial films ever made. It follows Alex DeLarge, a charismatic but violent young man who delights in crime, assault, and chaos. The film's graphic depictions of violence and sexual assault, paired with its satirical tone and moral ambiguity, shocked audiences and sparked outrage around the world. What truly makes this film unlikely today is its refusal to clearly condemn its protagonist. 2. Last Tango in Paris, 1972. Bernardo Bertolucci's Last Tango in Paris, starring Marlon Brando and Maria Schneider, became infamous for its raw portrayal of a sexual relationship between two strangers. The film pushed boundaries with explicit sexual content and emotionally intense scenes that blurred the line between performance and exploitation. Today, this film is often discussed not just for its content, but for the ethical issues surrounding its production. Reports that Schneider was not fully informed about certain scenes have permanently altered how the film is viewed. 3. The Exorcist, 1973. William Friedkin's The Exorcist terrified audiences and became a cultural phenomenon. Its graphic depictions of demonic possession, blasphemous language, and disturbing imagery were unprecedented for a mainstream film. While horror remains popular today, The Exorcist crossed religious, cultural, and psychological boundaries in ways that would spark intense controversy in the modern era. Scenes involving a possessed child, explicit profanity, and sacrilegious imagery would face significant censorship, backlash, and public debate. 4. Straw Dogs, 1971. Directed by Sam Peckinpah, Straw Dogs stars Dustin Hoffman as a mild-mannered man forced into violent self-defense in a rural English village. The film is particularly controversial for its depiction of sexual assault and its ambiguous portrayal of victimhood and masculinity. Modern audiences are far less tolerant of narratives that appear to justify or romanticize violence, especially sexual violence. The film's complex and uncomfortable treatment of these issues would likely be heavily criticized today, making it unlikely to be produced in its original form. 5. Blazing Saddles, 1974. Mel Brooks' Blazing Saddles is a satirical western that uses outrageous humor, racial slurs, and stereotypes to expose racism and bigotry. The film's intention was to mock prejudice, but its language and imagery are undeniably shocking by today's standards. While satire remains a powerful tool, the explicit racial language used throughout the film would almost certainly prevent it from being made today, or, at the very least, require significant alterations. 6. Deliverance, 1972. Deliverance follows four city men on a canoeing trip through rural Georgia that turns into a nightmare of violence and survival. The film is infamous for its harrowing scenes of humiliation, assault, and brutality. What makes Deliverance particularly controversial today is its portrayal of rural communities as savage and threatening, reinforcing stereotypes about certain regions and social classes. Combined with its graphic depiction of sexual violence, the film would face intense scrutiny in the modern era for both content and representation. 7. Dirty Harry, 1971. Clint Eastwood's iconic role as Inspector Harry Callahan introduced audiences to a lawman who operates outside the law to deliver his own version of justice. The film glorifies vigilantism and presents police brutality as justified in the face of rising crime. In today's climate, where discussions around policing, civil rights, and justice are more prominent than ever, a film that celebrates extrajudicial violence would face widespread criticism. While anti-heroes still exist, the uncritical endorsement of such tactics in Dirty Harry would be highly controversial today. 8. The French Connection, 1971. winner of multiple Academy Awards. The French Connection follows two New York detectives as they pursue a heroin smuggling ring. The film is praised for its gritty realism and legendary car chase, but it also portrays law enforcement officers who frequently bend or break the rules. Additionally, the film includes casual racism and problematic representations that were more common in the era. While modern crime dramas still explore morally complex characters, they often do so with more nuance and accountability than what is presented in this film.